Don't Give a Fuck.
Presenting The Art of Not Giving a Fuck with Garrett John.
All right, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Art of Not Giving a Fuck Victim to Adventure podcast. Today we've got a very special guest that I've been really excited, a lot of anticipation building up just for me to do this podcast and to be able to sit here and talk with this guy for a while. It's the Antipreneur, Ben Settle. Some of you might know him from his email list, which is a wild and entertaining ride that you can enjoy each and every day. So I encourage you guys to check that out. And then also check out his podcast, the Antipreneur Podcast. You can learn a lot about a lot of different things in your life, not only limited to business or dating or how you think about yourself and how that affects things in your life, and a lot of other seemingly random but always very useful and applicable things. So take a listen to that. So without saying any more, welcome to the show, Ben.
Hey, man, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you coming on. It's great. I've been studying your emails and some of your approaches to business and applying those here, including the podcast on podcasting. So we've got things upgraded and ready to go, and it's exciting to have you here. So one of the first things I wanted to mention is you sent out an email yesterday. The subject line was 2.5 Ben. And you mentioned the show 2.5 Men. Now the important part of the email here, you mentioned the one brother, Alan, in the show is a schlubby guy. Always broke, scorned and rejected by women, repulsive to be around, pathetic, terrible social skills, neurotic, and the list goes on. Then you say the other brother is the exact opposite. Successful, plenty of cash, no problem on getting dates, charismatic, dream job, garden variety fun dude. So then you went on to mention how that relates to your personal experience. And so I wanted to start with that quote, what you mentioned to your ex-copywriter. You say, I don't know about that in terms of relating to the flowing guy. But I do know back in my teens and 20s, I definitely was Alan. Hells, I was even more pathetic, depressing, and naive about how to be successful, obsessing over what others think of me. A totally socially awkward mush cookie. I shudder just thinking about it. So I wanted to start right there with that shuddering just thinking about it. So tell me a little bit about that, your teens and your 20s, because I think a lot of guys that listen to the Art of Not Giving a Fuck podcast have been there or even are there right now. So it might be useful just to hear a little bit about how that felt to be you in your teens and 20s.
Yeah, it was a very frustrating experience because, like a lot of guys, and this might veer off into a weird direction here, but I think it all relevant. But like a lot of guys, I grew up being raised primarily by a single mother. I saw my dad every other weekend, but the main influence in my life was my mother, which is not necessarily a good thing because a lot of times guys get indoctrinated with sort of a femme-centric point of view on things, especially when it comes to the things that we just mentioned with Alan. It's like be real syrupy, nice, and all this stuff, and here's how to relate to girls, and here's how to deal with stress and all this. Coming from a female point of view does not help a guy. In fact, what it does is it can hold you back. And this is not to blame my mother or anything like that. I just get that out of the way. It's just that's the way it is.
Sure.
And so that had a big impact on all that. And it seemed like I was always spinning my wheels, like with everything. I had a lot of anger because of that, like a lot of pent-up anger. And I didn't know exactly what to do with it or how to deal with it. I think there's a lot of guys that can relate to this, actually, people like that I've talked to, at least. But yeah, I had the Alan mindset. I mean, I could not get a date with a pocket full of $50 bills. It just, nothing would matter. And every time I thought, this is exactly what I think girls want to do, because this is what my mom basically, what all the other girls say they want. Well, the guys I hung out with, and thankfully I had some cool guys to hang out with, they were doing the opposite. And they was always going home, they were always getting girls and picking up girls and all that. And I'm always getting rejected. And it never occurred to me during all that time to realize that, look, what's that quote? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. I was insane, basically, like that. And it wasn't until my mid 30s when I got, well, probably early 30s when I started to figure this out. When I was knee deep into a bad marriage, that it started to dawn on me that all these things that I thought were the case just weren't. It was almost the exact opposite. And so I started changing my mindset. I started, studying things and looking things up and investigating different ways of looking at life. And this goes beyond just girls and guys and all that, but just in general. And by the time I got divorced, which was back in 2012, I was a completely different guy. My business got much better. I started making a lot more money. I just had more focus. I understood now. I don't, for example, we'll take it to the girl thing. If you look at Alan, girls are like the focus of his life when he in that show, like in the sense that he puts them on a pedestal. He revolves around them like they're the sun and he's a planet. But if you look at Charlie, it's the exact opposite. He's the sun and the girls are the planet. They're kind of there to complement his life. He's not there to complement their life, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that
so,
makes total sense. That's a great point. Yeah.
and you can take that to business too. It's like once you start not putting customers and clients on a pedestal, when you start realizing that the math is actually working out in your favor, there's less of you, there's less supply of you if you have a good product or service than there are of customers and clients. So you're actually more valuable than they are. Now, that's not to say to go through life being a dick to anyone or anything like that, having a superiority complex, but just to realize your value and worth. And when you realize that, everything changes because you really get to that point, to kind of quote the title of your show, where you don't give a fuck. And it's like, it doesn't mean you don't care about people. It just means you don't care about the outcome. You're outcome independent, which frees you up in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I've heard you mention that word before. I just was listening to a bunch of your podcasts yesterday, and that was the one note I had made was outcome independent. And that seems to be really, really important in terms of, like what the transition point, the whole name of the show, Victim to Adventurer. Outcome independence is definitely one aspect of living a more adventurous and fun life. I mean, you can dive into so many different directions when you're not worried about what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And when people make decisions out of fear, nothing. I'll tell you what. You quoted it wasn't my ex-copywriter, it was my ex-copywriting apprentice, actually.
Ah, right.
Which is basically kind of like we date, and I brought her on as an apprentice, but then it was really not working out with her as my apprentice. We just got in a lot of stupid fights and stuff, so I fired her as my apprentice. And anyway, the reason I bring her up is she's very good at roulette. We live not far, you've probably heard of Seven Feathers Casino. Actually, you're an Oregon guy. So she likes to go there a lot. She was just there last night, won a bunch of money. And but she was telling me that she only wins when she doesn't care, like when she doesn't care about winning. When she goes in scared, like she's scared of losing money, she'll lose. But if she just goes in there and says, look, I got $100 of mad money, whatever happens, I don't care, she comes out and she'll win. And it's just, I think there's a big lesson in there, because I think that applies to just about everything. Scared money can't win. Scared businesses can't win. Scared people cannot win. And I think it's very relevant to anyone in business listening to this.
Definitely. That's very relevant. I mean, that's relevant in the dating world too. I get clients from all different directions. People who want to expand their life in terms of creativity, people that want to meet more women, people that want to enjoy the relationship they already have more. And it does apply to all these places, even if they have a job or a business or anything, that valuing yourself first and not making decisions based on fear, but more based on like what would satisfy you, what would be fun. There's a lot of different ways to evaluate your experience in terms of how it enhances your life or how it could enhance your life, rather than trying to solve problems or fix yourself or make things okay, or waiting for things to be perfect and whatnot.
Yeah, and you actually bring a good point up there about putting yourself kind of first. A lot of people will say that's selfish, but I think you have to do it. It's like we were talking about traveling, right? And so you get in the plane, and the first thing they tell you is make sure you secure your own oxygen mask before you try to help the person next to you. Right. Is that selfish? No, it just means that you can't help them until like I have this. I'm I'm a big believer in this philosophy that was espoused by this late comedian Patrice O'Neill. That, at least for guys, okay, that happiness trickles down from us. If you're the king of your kingdom and you have your kingdom in order, everybody in your kingdom is going to be happy. But if you're the king and you got issues and problems and you can't get anything straight, you're not going to make anyone around you happy. They're going to be miserable with you. So I think everybody in business should have this point of view that you're the king of your kingdom. Your business is your kingdom, and if you don't have yourself and your business in order, your customers will be unhappy, your clients will be unhappy. But put yourself first so that your happiness can trickle down to them, basically.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and that's something that we bring up often in terms of any training I offer people. One of the foundational points to get across in the beginning is 100% self-acceptance. No matter what's happened in your life, no matter what you think of yourself, what other people have told you, it doesn't matter. Nothing's going to really change at all, no matter how much you struggle to change it for years and years with whatever systems, doesn't even matter. If it's always to make yourself okay and to find acceptance from someone else and all this kind of crap. But the moment that 100% self-respect and acceptance hits, a whole new world opens up. I mean, in every single direction, really. Whatever you want to do, whatever you enjoy, suddenly takes precedence, instead of just running away from things.
Yeah, you're like giving yourself permission to be selfish, which, selfish is good.
Right.
If you don't have your own shit together, you're not going to be able to help anyone else with theirs.
Well, and then to look at that 3.5 men example again, then people are just flocking around because they're having fun, because they're enjoying and feeling enhanced and expanded by that. And so that metaphor applies with business, like what you've been saying over and over in the podcast. Is like when you act in these certain ways, people are just going to flock there. The clients are just going to show up. They're going to come and want to hang out around you and participate and do whatever it is you suggest doing, because you're exhibiting these beautiful results, which is just enjoying life on your own terms.
Yeah, that's a very charismatic trait, to have that mindset that you're living on your terms. People are welcome to come along with you or not come with you, and it doesn't affect you either way. And there's just a lot of power in that. There's a lot. It's so rare too. We'll take it back to 2.5 Men here. So Charlie, I'm not going to say I agree with Charlie's lifestyle completely. Okay, like I wouldn't do half the stuff he does, but it's funny how his brother Alan, the schlub, has to come to Charlie to live with Charlie, because Charlie has his life together, at least to that, financially and successfully. Maybe he's got some other issues mentally and all that, but basically, nobody watching that show says, man, I would rather live with Alan in some small apartment he can't afford, or live in Charlie's house on the beach in Malibu, which is plenty of room and it's just a beautiful view and all that. That's because that's the result of somebody living life on their terms, versus Alan, who, was living his life on everyone else's terms, including his ex-wife in the show. I know you haven't seen the show, but just to say his ex-wife is like a ex-wife from hell, and he has nothing. Everything goes to her, basically. She lives in a house he's paying for,
Right.
stuff. And he can't even afford his own place, right? But Charlie lives the exact opposite life. He's on his own terms, doing things his way, and that's the way it goes. I mean, if you want to take it to, do you want to be a Charlie or an Alan? I think most people would say I'd rather be a Charlie.
Yeah, that's an interesting point too, is that when it really gets down to it, you ask people and start these kinds of conversations, everyone will at some point start to admit they want to have that flowing life, that more open, charismatic experience. But often they have no idea exactly how to get there. So that does bring up another question, which was there a specific moment that you realized or that you remember when you realized something else was possible? Going from the Alan to the Charlie, so to speak?
Yeah, in a way, and I'll take this back to the dating thing. It was around 2009, and I was still married at the time, and it was not a very, very good marriage in a lot of ways. And even back then, I knew there was something wrong with me. I wasn't trying to change. It was like, there's something wrong with me. This wouldn't be happening right now if it wasn't something within me not doing something right. I knew this on an instinctive level. I didn't know how to verbalize it. But I had a client at the time, and he was like, hey, Ben, he was in the self-defense niche. He's like, this guy from the dating niche wants my help. Would you be interested in writing an ad for his product? And I said, well, I'm married. I'm not really in that market. I can't even get in that mindset right now. But we got to talking about this book from Neil Strauss called The Game, which is about the underground pickup artist world, which back then was like a very, very secretive thing. Now everybody knows about it. But back then, it was like, what is it? Really was a secret society type thing. And he goes, yeah, but Ben, you should read that book anyway because there's just like from a business point of view, there's lots of cool marketing ideas and stuff. So I got it and I read that book, and that's what like shifted my mind, not only like in gender relations, but it got me thinking that man, I am like 100% back asswards in a lot of ways. Like there's some things that just aren't adding up, and that was probably the biggest aha moment as far as that stuff goes. And it, I'm always thinking business and copywriting and marketing. So when I read that book, all these lessons came back to, like, I was able to apply it to my business life. I was obviously wasn't dating anyone at the time, but it was all relevant to my business life. And you listen to my podcast, I'm always talking about the similarities between the dating world and the business world. They're all the exact same. The problems are the same. The methods for attracting people or customers or girls or customers are the same. It's all the same. And because it's all just human nature and getting your mind wrapped around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So then from there, how long did it take you? You said between 2009 and 2012, then that your life was like totally different. You said you're a completely different guy by the time that process was over. Were there any steps to kind of crawling out of the sewer of self-doubt?
Well, it was, it was, getting out of the toxic marriage is a big step. I mean, that, and I'm not blaming anybody but myself here. So I want to make that clear. I definitely am not the victim mentality type. But, it was climbing out of that situation took a lot of, it wasn't easy. Let's just put it that way. It's not an easy thing getting out of a messy situation, and it changes you and it makes you reflect and think and try to prevent the same thing from happening again. And all of it comes down to just not being a freaking pushover, just having the balls to do what you got to do, even if it sucks, even if it hurts, even if it's awkward, even if it's going to hurt somebody else. Not that you should want to hurt other people,
Sure.
but sometimes for the good of you both, you need to get out of a situation. And it's like, it takes some balls. And once you've done that, it's kind of like it's like the Thai fighter, like the fighters in Thailand, right? They'll kick a banana tree, right, until their freaking shin breaks, and then they'll let it heal, and then they'll break it again. And every time they do that, the bones are calcifying, what they call it, making them harder and harder and harder until they have like rock hard calves. So like or shins. So the more you go through these situations in life and not run from them, but actually try to almost embrace what's hard, you're calcifying your mindset to failure and all these other things. You just that outcome independence becomes automatic. It's kind of hard to explain. It's almost like something that someone has to go through, but this applies to like every aspect of your life.
Yeah, that's a fascinating transition, and it is hard to pinpoint any specific moment. But I know what you mean. There's been books in my own life, in my own experience too, where there was like a pivoting point from 180-degree difference from one point of view to another.
Yeah.
And I think there's always a build-up to that point. I mean, there has to be data kind of to make that catharsis take place. And a lot of that is, I think, making a lot of mistakes and facing errors and diving into life and then realizing, like what you said, like, fuck, whatever I thought was going on, really it must not be going on because it's not working the way I think it works. And facing those simple facts, like what is it that's really going on here? What is it I can really do?
And just being accountable to everything that you do. It's like, even if somebody comes up to the street, I'm walking on the street, let's say, and someone comes up and shoots me, and I get my arm is now useless for the rest of my life, for example, that's still my fault. Yeah, they shot me and all that, but I could have been more aware. I could have been more aware of my surroundings. I could have been better at defending myself, whatever. If you just start looking at everything like it's all your fault, everything changes, because now it's like you have no helplessness at all. In fact, I don't like using the word empower because it's so overused.
Yeah.
But that's what it does to you. I mean, once you say it's always my fault, whatever happens is my fault, everything changes. I mean, just like everything in your life will start changing when you stop thinking that things are just randomly happening and it's someone else's fault, or if that hadn't happened, this wouldn't have happened. No, it's always my fault. I put myself in that position. I wasn't aware. I wasn't smart enough to deal with it. And I bet if anyone listening to this thinks about every bad thing that's ever happened to them, they can say there could have been a way to prevent it. I mean, unless it was something that happened to them as a baby or something, obviously. But I'm
Right.
just saying, in general, like as adults, it's our fault. Whatever, get dumped. You get dumped by a girl, she's cheating on you. It's your fault, right? If you lose a big client because they're idiot clients, it's still your fault, right? That's like the way to think about it, and then that's how you get wiser and you get better and you get stronger.
Yeah, it's interesting because even as you were listing out the different areas and saying, taking that responsibility, I immediately noticed the effect of that in the mind is that it opens the door right away to like this control panel, almost like a Star Trek thing, blinking lights, and you all of a sudden have all these options. You're like, oh, it's all my fault, but suddenly that question or that statement opens the door to like, oh, I can do these things about this situation right now. I can make this phone call. I can, deal with this person or arrange this part of my life deliberately. Whereas if stuck in the victim mindset, it's going, oh man, well one day if things are lined
Yeah.
up, I'll do something about it. That's not, that one day is never going to arrive. It's just going to be
No.
more and more. It's just always that victim treadmill. Uh, yeah, until you take responsibility for it all.
Yeah, it reminds me of that it's not exactly related, but it just reminds me of some reason that formula for luck, which is preparation meets opportunity equals luck. Well, you have no control necessarily over opportunities, but you have all the control in the world over being prepared for things and then placing yourself in a position where opportunity lies. And that gives you complete control over everything. Now contrast what most people do. They never prepare for anything and they just hope that opportunity slaps them in the face. Then they wonder why nothing works, And so yeah, you're right. It is like a control panel. Once you take that mindset, you just realize anything is possible. There's
Yeah.
nothing holding you back now, except you got rid of that shackle.
Right. Well, and the interesting thing is when the victim wins the lottery, so to speak, or when opportunity does actually stroll up and slap him in the face, it usually their life gets worse often. They'll blow all the money on some kind of crazy drug experience or whatever it is, and getting in car accidents or just insanity, and then they end up in deeper debt than before that when they won the lottery and unable to dig out of it. There's all kinds of situations like that where people get. Or a guy writes a movie, but he thinks of himself as a total victim. I think there's a film about this. I forget the name of it now, but about a director, and he had like the world handed to him. He suddenly was able to put on his film, and he just angered and fucked up everybody so bad on it that he just destroyed his whole own movie. He destroyed the entire opportunity. Just sent everyone fleeing from his life. So if your
That's
mindset isn't correct, it doesn't matter how much abundance you have.
It's true. It's true because they're not prepared for it. And I heard it like this, especially the money thing, like the guys winning or it could be coming into any large amount of money. It doesn't matter how. We all have our like a comfort level for success and wealth and all that. And think of it like a thermostat. Let's say a person's thermostat internally is set at $25,000 a year. That's how they see themselves. As a $25,000 a year person, they will get to that level because they're uncomfortable making more than that or less than that. So you could throw $100,000 in their lap, and they will do whatever they can subconsciously to get back to 25,000 because that's where they're comfortable. And
Hmm.
so, that's a lot. You'll see even like sports celebrities will come into a lot of money, and then, like you said, they'll just blow it. It's because they weren't comfortable with it.
Right. That brings to mind something that it was actually you're probably familiar with that. It was the world's number one search term in 2014 was Robin Williams. I saw that stat in a few different places on Google. And that brings to mind it's something that people are fascinated with. And I've thought a lot about it, but that having the means to create essentially the lap of luxury or essentially any experience you really want, and yet ending up choosing the experience of ending your life. You know what I mean? So, do you have any speculation or ideas about what was going on there, or in a situation similar to that?
I don't really understand the mindset of someone who's suicidal. I suspect there's some chemical imbalances and things that I just don't get because I
Hmm.
just like rationally I don't get it. But obviously there must be something going on there,
Yeah.
because who does that, right? And then self-preservation is like the most powerful instinct we have. So to
Hmm.
go against that must be some weird. I mean, I don't even know. I honestly don't know much about that topic other than that I know that I don't know anything about it. How's that?
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, see, and that's great. That brings up an interesting point too. Just to shift topics, but when someone actually is able to admit that they don't know about something, like in this conversation, a lot of times when two guys are talking, they can end up bluffing their way into to the point that the conversation has no relevance in reality at all anymore, and and the guys will keep acting like they know about different things. Or if you listen to guys talk about martial arts who just watch it on TV and they're telling about every
Yeah.
single move, right? And here's what you do when the guy does this, and no idea that it's more like a reflexive, a trust in a lot of training that gets you to that point, not watching it on TV and knowing, what's supposed to happen in a fight. But the idea when like if I have a mechanic work on my car and that guy actually admits that he doesn't know something that's going on, I trust him way more than a mechanic who never tells me that he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, there was a that's interesting because there was this ad. This was in this book called Tested. Oh man, it's like Tested Scientific Advertising or one of these things. It was John Caples wrote it, and he was split testing an ad for books for mechanics. And the one headline was "How to Fix Any Car," and then the other headline was "How to Fix Almost Any Car." And that one word "almost" like apparently drove sales way higher than I can because mechanics knew that you can't. There's some weird foreign cars. Any car, I mean, come on, it just sounds like bullshit. But yeah, just admitting that you don't know. I mean, I don't understand why people don't admit they don't know. I personally don't want the pressure and stress of trying to like bluff my way through anything. I'd rather just hand it over to someone who does know what they're doing. We're in this golf. I'm joint venturing in this golf project right now for the golf market, and we all know what our strengths and weaknesses are. I know that I'm not a traffic guy, so to come like for me to have anything to do with the traffic would hurt us all. And there's guys in there who shouldn't have anything to do with copywriting, and they're not going to bother with that. We just kind of trust each other to each other's jobs, and yeah, a lot gets accomplished when you just realize what you don't know and focus on what you do.
Yeah, again, it brings us right back to it puts you right back in charge, and then it puts you back at the control panel, and you can decide, do you want to go get that knowledge or is it unimportant? You can move on to something else. But at least then being honest brings you to that decision making point where you take charge of your own life again.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of it just does come down to personal responsibility. It's like, which is like, these days is such a rare thing. I would guess that 100 years ago, it was not a rare thing. Because just for survival, you had to live off the land and all that. Now everything's like handed to us. Everything's convenient. None of us has to go out hunting our own food or anything. We don't have to. Some people do by choice, obviously, but it's like you just don't have to by just to survive. You don't have to really be that responsible like you used to. And I think being the responsible person will make you having self responsibility will make you stand out from 90% of the people out there in business or out of business.
Yeah, and it opens so many doors into so many different directions in life. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, there was a time in my life I would have thought my way out of, for example, being able to come to Colombia or to take a trip around here and explore and do what I want to do. There would have been a time where I thought that's impossible. That's like a faraway dream. That'll take years. And now it's just it was a pretty brief decision, and just decided to do it, set it up, and then you take charge and do it. So many situations in life are like that. If someone says, "I've always wanted to write a book," okay, well, give yourself 2 weeks and write the fucking thing, or whatever it is. You want to do painting, okay, let's start painting. I mean, you can actually give yourself a pretty world-class education in almost any art form or anything you'd like to explore, just using YouTube as at least for the beginning stages. To explore, and then from there, find experts and learn and expand. And so that kind of leads me to, at the end of that, the 3.5 Ben email, you had mentioned, let's see, well, you mentioned your podcast. A lot of what your podcast covers is about what you've learned climbing out of the miserable ways, which we've been talking about, including mistakes I've made, not just in business, but in personal life, mindset shifts that have added more of the green stuff to my piggy bank, freed up time, and inner game ideas that have made life, both business and personal, a whole bunch more fun and exciting than in the hopeless Allen days. And And the ultimate goal in any kind of self-development or any kind of aspiration or seeking in your life, in a person's life, in my assessment, it would have to be based on fun, enjoyment, exploration, and growth, something along those lines, but all on your own terms, success on your own terms, because if you're not defining what success is to you and what satisfaction is to you, then really who is, and who can even? How will that ever work?
Well, I'll give you an example of that. Okay, so my main product is a print newsletter. Okay, it's like $97 a month print newsletter, very expensive. And I get to this day people saying, Ben, why can't you switch this to an online membership site and all this, and we can all do all that membership site stuff? I can tell you right now, I would be miserable upkeeping a membership site. I have no desire to do that. I actually had an online component once to a newsletter I used to print, and it was the biggest pain in my ass. So I'm going to do this on my terms, and if someone doesn't like it, they don't have to subscribe. If they want a membership site, go find someone else to buy from and join their membership site. Mine's a print newsletter, and that's the way it's going to be, and you're going to either buy it or you're not. And if you don't buy it, hey, no, I have no hard feelings towards someone at all if they have that attitude. But if they do buy it, they're going to get it my way, done the way I want to do it, in the style I want to do it, in the format I want to do it. And if they squawk about it and they complain, sometimes I will just remove their name from the list and fire them as a customer, because it's going to be my way or the highway. And I think, look, I know it almost sounds like control freakish, but it's not. It's just like I look at my business as a dictatorship, not a democracy, and I'm the dictator. And so people can and I'm a benevolent dictator. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a violent dictator. I don't kill my own subjects, but I will cast them out and banish them from the country if they don't comply. And
right.
Most of my people are very happy, and they're good citizens, and they don't get in trouble, and I don't have to put them in jail or anything, so it's all good.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. That's a great example. In one of a few different areas in the podcast and in the emails, you brought up also the idea that the mindset to take, that you're giving people the opportunity to experience your product or your service or yourself, whatever it is. That like right now, we're giving people the opportunity to hear these things, to try and apply some of these tools, to share in the experiences that we're talking about. You know what I mean? We don't owe it to anyone, but we're doing it because it's fun and like to share these things, and then maybe people can get some benefit from it. But it's creating an opportunity for them, and how powerful that mindset is.
Absolutely, it's most people online, especially, but I would say this goes offline. This applies to the dating world. It applies to everything. Most people and are very, very needy, and neediness. Nothing will kill attraction for you, your business, you as a person to just hang around with, other than being needy. That is like the worst thing someone can do. And yet believe me, that's what I used to be in my Allen days. The neediest motherfucker you'd ever know. Okay? and it's like that, we can go back. That is really what changed everything when I stopped being, in fact, let's backtrack a little bit, because now that I'm thinking about this, I will tell you what had a huge impact on my entire mindset. It was about 2 months after my divorce and everything, and I was trying to get my mind wrapped around all this stuff, and I read this blog post about, why you just stop being needy. Like, it's like advanced game. Like for getting girls, it's advanced game. Just not being needy. You don't need pickup lines. Just be the one guy in her life that's not needy. And I applied this to my everything. I started applying it more to my business. Like, I make people qualify to buy from me. They have to qualify just to opt in. I don't need them, and they know it. And I know it. My mindset is like, I don't need it. I want customers, but I don't need any one customer to be fine. So getting rid of neediness would be like, that was probably the number one step, like the most important thing I've ever done in my life. As far as mindset, is just not being needy. And people are needy without realizing it. Like, for example, if you're waiting on someone to text you back for something, and you're constantly checking your phone, that's needy. That is needy behavior. Stop it. Take your phone and throw it across the room and go find something better to do. Don't even if somebody's, whether it's a girl or a friend or just a family member you're waiting on, don't be needy. Just like you have a life that's more important. It's your thing. You're the dictator. Go dictate. Go work on your kingdom. Whatever that may entail. Maybe 3 hours later, you'll check your phone and, oh, okay, it got back to me. I'm not talking about stuff where you need to information right away, of course. I'm just talking about like social plans and that kind of stuff. Or maybe you're waiting on a girl for someone who's single. They're waiting for a girl to text them back and constantly checking their phone. And they just want to text something like, what's going on? No, that's needy behavior. Knock that off. Take your phone, throw it away. Go throw it in the garbage disposal for like, and get a new phone a week later, and you will have so much more respect in your social circle, from romantically, from people you're interested in, from everybody in your life. Well, if you just disappear and withhold interest. In fact, there's this book called The 48 Laws of Power. It's a great book, and one of the 48 Laws of Power is to just disappear from your social circle for a while. And it is amazing, and not to do it as a trick, but because you really have better things to do. You have bodies to bury, and you have mountains to climb, and you have people to, countries to conquer, figuratively speaking, all these things. Do you really have time to be screwing around with people's petty little dramas and all that stuff? No, screw them. So just like withholding interest and not being needy is like the number one most important lesson I think I've ever learned. And I have a podcast coming up. I don't know if it's already aired or if it's coming up. I can't remember, but because we're like a month ahead on my podcast, I always get confused on where we're at. But that is going to be I think that might be the best podcast episode I've ever done. Not being needy.
Not being needy. That's excellent. Yeah, I had that on this little list here of things to bring up. That you mentioned that neediness is repulsive. That was in the Charisma podcast. I really liked that one.
Yeah, and what I expand on it in a future one coming up pretty soon. It's like, yeah, that's a good one.
Nice. Yeah, that's something a lot of guys have come and shown interest in, and with the Art of Not Giving a Fuck is getting some kind of bulletproof confidence, some kind of unconscious confidence. And I think that's, if anyone's asking where to start with all these things we've been talking about, because it can seem like a massively overwhelming task to start changing everything in your life. But the cool thing is, it's not that you have to sit and deliberately, consciously, nitpickingly change every single thing. It's that there's certain actions you can take that will make sweeping changes in your life, just like what we've been talking about, like the putting all the effort on ending the neediness will then effortlessly help you expand in all these other directions. When people start swarming around and opportunities start to arise, and start feeling good about yourself, then you're not, someone who's feeling great and flowing with their life isn't really thinking about confidence at all. They're just living their life, It's
true, and not being needy is it's hard at first, because it's like people, and I mean we're all, I don't say all, there's probably a few outliers out there who've never had this problem, but it's like ingrained in you because the society tells you to be needy, basically. And so you start out where you're unconsciously incompetent, meaning you don't know, right? So now we're past that phase, everyone listening. So now it's a conscious competence, right? So now you won't be needy when you think about it. And eventually you'll just have to keep reminding yourself until one day it's like second nature, until you're almost anti-needy. Like I almost go out of my way to push people away these days for that very reason. So I don't know, for better or worse.
Oh, and that's great. Yeah, I mean, that's something people can realize. Just listening to this right now, having heard that conversation, they've been offered, now that's an invitation. That's an opportunity right now, not like later on, not when the conditions are right, not when people are treating you in some way or another, or your circumstances are aligning, or the astrology says so. None of that. It's just right now, you can decide to start making some decisions about that neediness in whatever way you want in your life. People listening can actually really feel the power from that experience starting right now, and don't put it off any longer. That's part of the point too with the art of not giving a fuck. You just stop giving a fuck about all the conditions that are supposed to be there for you to do something, and instead just do it, and then you'll figure out what you need along the way, or you'll fail, and it doesn't really matter. It'll be a fun exploration. So it's really an invitation right now to put an end to that neediness, and I'm sure you're working on it. I'm working on that too. There's always times these little things we notice crop up in new situations. They like to hide like little gremlins.
That's true, and in fact, I mean, we all, I know everybody I know, and I'm as guilty as anyone is. Will be needy at times, and it's just a matter of recognize it, and so you don't do it again. And I mean, it's just one of those things. It's a human thing. People need people and need other things, and you just say, hey, I'm withholding interest. Putting myself first. Nobody else goes on a pedestal. The only thing going on the pedestal is my mission in life right now, and
Right.
everyone else comes second to that.
Right, and then everyone else that ends up participating has a lot of fun anyway. More fun than if they were put on the pedestal, which they can never live up to. It just ain't gonna work.
Well, you put somebody on a pedestal, right? And the only way they can look at you is down. so, so it's like the worst thing you can do is this is for guys and like because I'm in the dating niche and stuff. Like that is the worst thing you can do is put a girl on a pedestal. She is no better than you, you know. But guys are so mystified by the power of the vagina that they they it's so like this mysterious thing. But it's like, look, don't treat her bad, but don't treat her like she's better than you either. You know, she's just a human being and she's got flaws and we all have flaws. So just take her off the pedestal and put something else up there that you can focus on, and you will automatically be more attractive to not just girls, but people in general will find you more attractive to be around.
Right, right, and then and part of that is then you'll start exploring your life based on what you're genuinely interested in, rather than again that desperation allowing you to choose things that aren't really good for you in your life, people and situations and business decisions or whatever that are made out of fear. Just keep leading down further down that treacherous path where you're not enjoying yourself. One of the quotes you mentioned, I think this was on the politics podcast, was if I'm given the choice between rat poison and cyanide, I'm going to refrain from both.
Yeah,
I thought, man, that applies to so many situations where people, again, are hung up on dramas or problems. Usually these catch-22s. You said it perfectly, between rat poison and cyanide. So, do any situations come to mind, like right in in the flow of your real life, where that's where you could apply that?
well, sometimes people will put you in an impossible situation, right? Like, I like to bring things back to the dating analogy. So let's say you're with a girl, it could be a wife, it could be a girlfriend, doesn't really matter, and they're trying to change you into something you're not, right? There comes a time now you can give in to that, and you could take the rat poison. You could fight them on that, which is like taking cyanide, right? Because both of them are going to lead to like bad things one way or the other. Or you say, I'm just going to take my ball and leave, and you just don't even acknowledge it anymore. You just say, look, this person is going to get ignored until they come back and behave themselves, because I'm not going to change in whatever way they want me to change necessarily. I mean, there are times where it's good to change in some ways, but I'm just saying, if you know something's bad for you and you have to choose between two things, either fighting someone over it or going along with a bad idea, just take your ball and leave. Just remove yourself from the situation altogether. You don't. There's no. That's the thing. Nobody has a gun on you to make any decision one way or the other. I mean, if we live in a free society, so use your freedom, embrace it, and enjoy it, and don't be afraid to just withhold your attention, withhold your product if it's a business thing and you're dealing with a bad customer. It's your life. Take your ball and leave. If you don't see good options, take your ball and leave and go find a new game to play.
Yeah, it's an excellent tip. And so often people spend years just wasting away, focusing on the choice between the rat poison and the cyanide, and never noticing that they just set that one, table that option for now and go do something fun. And often from there, sometimes the something fun expands into a whole new life for you anyway.
And they think the fun thing, everybody thinks the fun thing is like bad.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy?
That could be like what you should be doing. I mean, it's like, why would you? I think doing things you don't want to do is the bad thing. Like, what kind of life is that where, I'm not allowed to do fun things? I'm not allowed to work on something that brings me fulfillment because of someone else's expectations? Screw them. What about I change it around. My expectations are them is the, go along with my program or get out. So now I just put it back on them. They have to make the choice because nobody's going to control me. This is why I think I hated doing client work, because I don't like authority in any shape or form. And so it helps if you hate authority and you hate people telling you what to do, of course. But a lot of people unfortunately, a lot of people are just in that mindset where they need someone to tell them what to do, and they're not even going to be receptive to this, what we're talking about here.
Right.
They may be someday, but until then, it's like, what is wrong with these two selfish bastards?
Oh yeah, I know. I used to be involved in different politics on different levels many, many years ago, and I noticed that at some point I realized somehow someone had gotten in my mind and made it such that I felt, like necessary to have a templated response to every single possible issue there could ever be on the planet, and bearing this giant burden all the time of these, heavy opinions and sorrows, and at some point just throwing that thing just off the cliff and being done with it, and life just opened up in so many ways. It was ridiculous. But just that idea that you have to be constantly choosing and bearing all these opinions about everything and carrying that around all the time and suffering when you see about other people suffering and all these different insane beliefs. And when I brought up, that fun, I started a topic on Quora. I said, what arguments can you make against the idea of having fun all the time? What if I said it's possible to have fun all the time, even if you're at a funeral, even if someone just died and it's terrible and you feel it? What if part of you at least is like a spy for your own self-interest that says, man, this is a rich feeling. I've never felt this way before. Yeah, it's sorrow. Yeah, it's difficult, but I'm alive and I'm feeling something, and that's pretty amazing, And then reorienting your life to that perspective of you're adventuring through and crazy things might happen, and that's part of the benefit of being alive and having perception or consciousness at all. Experiences happen and you feel things,
There's this movie you'd probably like if you haven't already seen it. It's from like the 40s. It was a Frank Capra movie. Frank Capra's a pretty popular director back then. He directed like It's a Wonderful Life and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and all that. And there's this movie called You Can't Take It With You, and it stars Lionel Barrymore and Jimmy Stewart, and it's all about this like two families. One family is the banker family, and son is being told exactly how to live his life, and this is what you have to do. And then his girlfriend lives with her grandpa and like sister and stuff. And everyone in that house only does what they feel like doing. They don't worry about anything. They just like if it seems fun, they're going to do it. And it's like the exact two opposite lifestyles. It's a very fun movie. I actually like it quite a bit. And there's a lot of what you were just saying reminded me of that movie. It's like that's all they do. Is if it seems fun, they'll just do it, And they'll have people who stop by to deliver, a delivery person who just ends up living there because they're like, oh my God, I can do this. I don't have to, and they're just doing like whatever they want. They're down in the basement making fireworks or whatever. It doesn't really matter what it is. Some people they're just doing stuff they want to do. I don't never figured out how they make money there, but that's not the point.
Right.
But they do what they like to do, and they're always having fun, and everyone's having fun. So
yeah. Well, you figure out ways to create value that are fun. It's a pretty simple. Life gets kind of simple, even though the things you can get into are complex. Yeah, you can learn the complexities of oil painting or copywriting, whatever it is. But the fact that it's fun for you is what will drive you to persist through failures and new experiences and learning curves and all that. The fun is what's going to me at least, empower the search. Otherwise, I would have no energy to be, researching something for 10 hours straight online, that I'm so fascinated with. You know what I mean? But if something was like, well, I found something that seems like drudgery. I'm going to now study this for 10 hours and do my daily suffering before I watch a show and enjoy myself a little bit, what the hell is that? There's no...
Well, what's that? You've seen the movie The Matrix?
Yeah, of course, yep.
And there's that part where Agent Smith's like, these humans like they tried to make they tried to make the Matrix perfect originally. It was like a paradise, but the humans would like rejected it because they need suffering, and it like defines us. So like suffering defines us, I guess, if you go by that movie. And so maybe that's why people feel like they need to suffer. I don't know, but it's an interesting thought.
Yeah, there is some identity wrapped up around it. I talked about that I wrote an article recently called "The Death of the Seeker," and it's about that very idea that. So when we were living as hunter-gatherers, let's say, in a more tribal sense, where you're reliant on other people, or even like 100 years ago, like you said, you're still more reliant on the community then than you would be now. If you faced social rejection, though, as a hunter-gatherer, you were likely to just die. If you were rejected socially, then no one might take care of you, and you might not get enough food to last through the winter, or whatever it is that would happen. But that's not the way life is now. You can jump from state to state or country to country and social circle to social circle till you find what works for you, and no amount of rejection is going to threaten your survival necessarily. I guess we could, invent some exceptions to that, but for the most part, you're not going to die if you get rejected. You're not going to run out of food. The grocery store will still be there, and everything will be fine. You can even get a beer and feel better. So it's not, it's not too bad anymore. But what the interesting thing was that if people who identify as seekers, so all these yogis now, or all these people that are identifying as seekers in any way, they are, by tying their identity up into it, they're cutting themselves off from ever actually discovering or finding or growing beyond their initial questions, simply because there's a survival threat now if their identity is threatened. So what if they find and they're like, I don't need yoga anymore. I discovered the secret at the core of it now, and I've transcended that, or whatever. Well, then the reason most people aren't finding anything that they think they're looking for is because their identity is their problems. They're identified with their problems. So if they find the solution, then their identity is threatened. So that's going on under the surface. Well, fuck, no wonder you're not changing no matter what you try to do. Go ahead.
I was thinking you're talking about you used to live in Ashland, Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some interesting people down there. And I knew this person who was a vegetarian. Right? And all their friends were vegetarians. As soon as she stopped being a vegetarian, they attacked her. like she was outcast because she's no longer a vegetarian. And for some reason, what you said just reminded me of that. It's just like, her identity was as a vegetarian. She stopped being one. And now she's, really glad that all happened because she realized those were like the shittiest friends she ever had. So.
Yeah, it's like, what? There's this. Your friends are policing what you're eating now.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, that relates back to the neediness, because again, that whole social circle. If the social circle's arranged around a sense of neediness, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to be having to fit in and comply with whatever each person wants you to be. Did you see that movie Zelig? It's an old Woody Allen film.
I have not seen it.
It's a pretty good one. Everyone he's around, he starts to become. His skin color will change, or he'll get all fat, or he gets, he literally actually becomes the shape of these other people until he has nothing left of himself. And I think that's kind of like, it's a great way to watch, a great metaphor to watch what goes on if you're living that needy life. How everything gets arranged around that.
It's almost like the Borg in Star Trek.
Right.
Get assimilated, and now you can't leave. And if you do, you're all screwed up. Like there's a couple ones that tried to leave the collective. So.
Right. Yeah. And so the social pressure, and then I think in our physiology gets translated as like a death threat. Oh my God, all those people rejected me. I was so embarrassed in front of them. How can I ever show my face again?
Yeah.
It's like, just go down the street to the next restaurant. Things are going to be fine. I mean, your night doesn't even have to be ruined. You know what I mean? There's so many options. I think, and people out there to go meet and have fun with. It's just absurd. But yeah, I guess that's the big difference, the mindset shift, and then allowing everything else in life to shift and making things a lot more effortless. Something that came to mind too was the potential of in the beginning you could at least outsource your neediness. Take it out of your relationship and like get a massage every week with someone who likes to hear you talk.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I never thought of that. I mean?
Like start just like get the needs met still, so you don't feel bad. Have a buffer, but outsource them. You know what I mean? Take charge of the neediness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So then by outsourcing it, well then you have still buy yourself some space and time to grow and step out of it completely. But yeah. Nothing wrong, like you said, with some needs. If you're at the hospital, you want to be taken care of, or if you're
that's and of course we're talking about like self-inflicted neediness where it's almost like a social thing. I need that vote from that person. Well, if someone comes off as like they need your vote, I mean, don't you almost want to get away from people like that, or they need your money, or I need your relationship, whatever it is. It's like, it's just, I don't know, there's something about neediness that just is repulsive.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think on some level it's because it's an illusion. It's our mind just rejects it on some level. It doesn't even feel good to be needy. If I think back to times when I act that way, I feel repelled by it. I go, oh man,
Yeah.
did I really say that stuff? Oh man.
That's exactly how I feel if it happens too. It's like, ah, crap. I better work on that one.
Yeah, exactly. But again, then that's where that 100% self-acceptance comes in. Don't hang up too long on the fact that you're needy. Just let it go. And again, do something fun. There's the antidote to fun.
Yeah, beating yourself up over it does no good. It's like just like acknowledge it that it happened and say, okay, how am I going to do better? I'll do better next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and there's some nice guiding questions. What can I do that would be more fun than this? What can I do that would be more fun than these problems? And whatever pops into mind, just run out and do it. If maybe it's play a game or whatever it is, isn't as important as just asking the question and taking action on it.
Well, there's this I heard this analogy once where this guy, yeah, he was pretty depressed over his girl. His girl cheated on him and all this stuff, and his wife, I think it was, and he's just all depressed. And the guy who was giving him advice is, well, he goes, "What's your favorite?" He goes, when he was talking about his wife, he sounded real down. Like if he said her name, he sounded like I don't know what her name was. Maybe it was Janet or Janet. That's how he says it. And he goes, "Well, what's your favorite TV show?" "Oh, CSI." It's like, or what's your favorite food? "Oh, steak." It's like he goes, "Well, listen to what you just said. Your favorite TV show and food. You're like all pepped up. You talk about her, you're all down. Now, why don't you go have a steak and watch CSI?"
Yeah, exactly. I know. And then it's like people have erected a fortress against having fun on their own terms. Like somehow there's got to fulfill some other thing first before the fun can happen. And that's the big trick, is that no, the fun's right there waiting for you all the time, right there. So many different ways. So well, I think we're coming up on an hour here, but I think, and that's a nice place to conclude. It was with fun. Make fun the goal.
Absolutely.
And then explore how that helps you expand and grow in different areas in your life. But well, thanks a lot, man. It's super awesome talking to you. It's better than even better than I expected. What a blast, and I like to just go with the flow like that. So thanks for sharing all the stories and all the tips. And I think anybody listening can find a whole bunch of things they can apply right away, right here. And that goes for all of your podcasts too. This is great stuff. It's effective. So if you're listening, pick a couple things and try them out, and then leave some comments. Leave a review for myself and for Ben, and then go over and check out his podcast and leave a review there as well.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to just keep up with my stuff and read that 2.5 Men thing or whatever, just go to bensettle.com, and you don't have to sign up for the list if you don't want to. You can just bypass and go to the blog. But if you do sign up for my list, I'll give you a free copy of my email players newsletter, a digital copy of it at least. It's a $90 value. That's what people pay every month for it, and I'll give it to you for free. Or just go in there and read the blog and listen to the podcast, whatever.
Awesome. Yeah, highly recommended. And again, thanks for coming on. I hope we have an opportunity to do this again sometime, and I look forward to hearing everything you got coming out.
Absolutely, man. Thank you again. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care, Ben.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Art of Not Giving a Fuck podcast. For more info, visit artofnotgivingaffuck.com or radicalengineer.com.